Rose's single scene, the wedding that changed everything. The cathedral bells began ringing at exactly 11 o'clock. Armin felt each chime like a slow knock against his ribs. The building stood tall and white under the afternoon sun, polished marble steps shining as guests in expensive suits and glittering gowns climbed upward with practiced elegance. Luxury cars lined the street. Laughter floated in the air like perfume. And there he stood, not as the groom, not even as a friend, just a guest. Armin adjusted the cuffs of his dark suit, a suit he had bought years ago when he thought he would be the one standing at the altar. His ex-fiancée, Mira, had once helped him choose it. She said navy blue made him look like someone who could conquer the world. He had almost believed her. Now, she was inside that cathedral, preparing to marry someone else. Armin could have ignored the invitation. He could have thrown it away. But something inside him needed closure. Needed proof that the chapter was truly over. He stepped toward the entrance. That's when he saw her. She was sitting near the side wall, half hidden in shadow. Her coat was worn thin. Her shoes were scuffed. A small paper cup sat beside her. Most guests passed her without looking twice. Some frowned. One woman muttered something about security. But Armin noticed her eyes. They weren't dull or defeated. They were steady, calm, observing everything. As he reached the door, a gust of wind blew the wedding program from his hand. It fluttered across the steps and landed near her feet. She picked it up carefully, smoothing the edges as if it were something precious. "You dropped this," she said softly, standing to hand it back. Her voice carried no shame. No pleading. Just kindness. "Thank you," Armin replied. For a moment, they stood there in silence, separated by invisible lines society draws so easily. He noticed she wasn't asking for money. She wasn't asking for anything. She simply returned what wasn't hers. Inside, the music swelled, violins tuning, guests settling into seats. He looked at the grand doors. Then back at her. A strange thought entered his mind. "Would you?" He hesitated, unsure if he'd lost his senses. "Would you like to come inside?" Her brow furrowed slightly. "Inside? Yes. As my guest." She blinked, almost as if checking whether he was mocking her. "I don't think I'm dressed for that kind of place." "Neither am I," he said quietly. "Not anymore." For the first time, her lips curved faintly. There was something about her presence, unshaken, grounded. Armin suddenly realized he didn't want to walk into that cathedral alone. Not into a room full of people who had watched his relationship crumble and whispered about how he wasn't ambitious enough for Mira. He wanted someone beside him who didn't care about status. Someone real. He extended his hand. After a brief pause, she placed hers in it. Her grip was warm, steady. Together, they stepped inside. The moment they entered, conversations dipped. Heads turned. Whispers bloomed like wildfire. Armin felt the stares immediately, sharp and judging. He kept walking, posture straight. The woman beside him didn't lower her head. She walked calmly, eyes forward, as if marble floors and crystal chandeliers were ordinary scenery. They found seats near the middle. A woman in pearls leaned toward her husband. "Who is she?" she hissed. "No idea," the husband muttered. "Must be some kind of statement." At the altar, Mira stood radiant in white. Her groom, Rowan, a wealthy businessman with a flawless smile, held her hands. But Mira's gaze shifted. She saw Armin. Then she saw who stood beside him. Confusion flickered across her face. Then disbelief. Then something else, something unsettled. The ceremony began. The priest spoke of love, loyalty, and forever. Words Armin once imagined hearing for himself. He thought he would feel pain. Instead, he felt strangely calm. Beside him, the woman listened attentively, her expression thoughtful. At one point, she leaned closer and whispered, "Do you regret coming?" He considered the question. "No," he answered truthfully. "Not anymore." She nodded as if that mattered. When the vows were exchanged, applause filled the cathedral. Flowers were tossed. Cameras flashed. But the real moment came afterward. At the reception hall, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers and gold-trimmed tables. Waiters carried silver trays of champagne. A live band played soft jazz. Armin and his unexpected companion entered together. Now the stares were impossible to ignore. A man from Mira's old social circle approached with a tight smile. "Armin. Long time." His eyes slid toward the woman. "Interesting date." Armin didn't flinch. He realized he didn't know her name. She stepped forward gracefully. "My name is Sarah." Her voice was calm but firm. The man chuckled awkwardly. "Well, Sarah, welcome to this." She met his gaze without blinking. "Thank you. It's a beautiful celebration." There was no sarcasm, no bitterness, just honesty. The man left, unsettled. Armin exhaled. "I'm sorry." This must be uncomfortable. I've been in far more uncomfortable places, she replied gently. This is just a room. A room. He realized how much power he had given to rooms like this. 2 opinions. 2 appearances. Across the hall, Mira approached. Her gown shimmered as she walked, guests parting around her. Rowan trailed slightly behind, curious. Armin, she said, her voice controlled but tense. I didn't expect you to come. You invited me. Her eyes shifted to Sarah. And you brought my guest, Armin said simply. Silence hung between them. Mira studied Sarah from head to toe. But instead of embarrassment, Sarah offered a polite smile. Congratulations, she said sincerely. You look very happy. Mira seemed caught off guard. Thank you. For a brief second, something unspoken passed between the 2 women. Recognition, perhaps, of strength. Rowan cleared his throat. Well, enjoy the evening. They walked away. Armin watched them go, and waited for jealousy. It didn't come. Instead, he felt lighter. Dance with me, Sarah suddenly said. He blinked. What? The music is good. And you look like someone who needs to stop thinking. Before he could protest, she guided him toward the dance floor. Guests stared openly now, but when they began to move, something shifted. Sarah danced not with practiced elegance, but with freedom. She laughed softly when she misstepped. She didn't care who watched. Her joy was unfiltered. Armin found himself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. Around them, whispers faded. People were watching not in judgment now, but in curiosity. Who was this woman who walked in with worn shoes and now carried herself like she owned the room? Halfway through the song, the band faltered. The lead singer's microphone cut out, causing awkward silence. Murmurs spread. Before anyone could react, Sarah stepped toward the small stage. Armin's eyes widened. She picked up the spare microphone. Tapped it once. It worked. Then she began to sing. Her voice was rich, clear, hauntingly beautiful. The entire ballroom froze. Conversations died mid-sentence. Glasses paused mid-air. She sang an old love song, not flashy, not loud, but filled with raw emotion. Every note carried strength, heartbreak, resilience. By the second chorus, the musicians had joined her, following her lead instinctively. Even the bride and groom stood stunned. When she finished, the room erupted into applause. Not polite clapping, thunderous applause. Armin stared at her, speechless. You never told me. She smiled shyly. You never asked. A well-dressed older man approached, eyes bright. That was extraordinary. Have we met before? She hesitated. A long time ago, perhaps. Recognition dawned on his face. You're Sarah Malik, the conservatory prodigy. Murmurs rippled again, this time not with judgment, but astonishment. Years ago, Sarah had been a rising classical vocalist. Until an accident, financial collapse, and family loss had pushed her life off course. She hadn't been homeless because she lacked talent. She had been homeless because life can be cruel. The narrative in the room changed instantly. But Armin looked at her differently. Not because of her past fame, but because she never used it to demand respect. She earned it simply by being herself. Mira approached again, quieter this time. You were incredible. Thank you, Sarah replied. Mira glanced at Armin, really looked at him. And perhaps for the first time, she saw peace on his face instead of longing. I hope you're happy, she said softly to him. He smiled. I think I'm learning how to be. Later, as the evening wound down, Armin and Sarah stepped outside into the cool night air. The noise of the party faded behind them. Why did you really invite me in? She asked. He thought carefully. Because everyone inside was pretending to be something. And you weren't. She looked at him, eyes glistening slightly in the streetlight. You didn't seem like you belonged out there, he added. Maybe I didn't, she said. But neither did you. They both laughed quietly. A long pause followed. What will you do now? He asked. She shrugged. Start again, I suppose. He nodded slowly. You won't have to do it alone, he said, surprising himself again. She studied his face, searching for pity. There was none, only sincerity. The cathedral bells rang once more in the distance, signaling the end of the celebration. But for Armin, it felt like a beginning. Not because he brought someone to prove a point. Not because she stunned the room. But because in a place where he once felt small, he finally stood tall. And beside him stood someone who reminded him that worth isn't stitched into suits or measured by guest lists. It's carried in how you walk into a room. Even when the world thinks you don't belong. Under the dim glow of streetlights, they walked away from the wedding, not as a spectacle, not as a scandal. But as two people who had unexpectedly found dignity in each other's presence. And for the first time that day, Armin felt something stronger than heartbreak. Hope.